Uh, my name is Pradyumna Chari, and I'm here to talk to you about the research outlook of Nanda, the research landscape, and what we are doing here as part of this great team and group of research collaborators that span all the amazing universities that Ramesh pointed out, as well as a bunch of collaborators from industry. Uh, uh, as we mentioned already, we here at MIT have been on this journey towards uh, building decentralized AI and the agentic web way before agentic web was even a term. So we started building AutoML, privacy preserving ML, knowledge markets, decentralized agentic systems, and today we are at this threshold of building the agentic web. Uh, the way we look at it, as Ramesh mentioned also, there are three stages to enabling this agentic web or the Internet of AI agents. We start with foundational infrastructure, aspects such as the Nanda index, protocols, governance, resolution. Then we move on to agentic economy or agentic commerce. How do you transact in intelligence? How do you transact in data, value? How do you establish trust? How do you enable transactions? And then finally, we move on to agentic society. How can intelligent agents collaborate with each other, learn from each other, uh, transact with each other, and all that fun stuff. So today, as I rapidly skim through my slides, you're going to get a sense of how we are thinking about each of these problems. And then we'll end with what you guys can do to build the future of agentic web with us. As we already mentioned, this is a massive group of collaborators from academia, industry, and from a lot of them are already here. You'll be hearing from a lot of them today, tomorrow. So stay tuned because really you can't miss even a minute. Uh, as I mentioned, we'll be skimming through a bunch of papers very fast, but all our papers are in open source on this GitHub repo over here, on archive. So point your phones over here and you can read the details of all we talk about just now. Let's start with the first phase of agentic web research that we are undertaking here at MIT and at Project Nanda, which is the foundational piece. And specifically, we've written a bunch of papers already on this, all pertaining to and centered around what we call the Nanda index. As we move towards an agentic web of millions, maybe billions of autonomous AI agents that exist in a decentralized, trustless landscape, we need infrastructural pieces that are built for this very, very new modality of communication, which is agentic communication, because agents are dynamic, agents are implicit, and agents are intelligent. One of the core pieces to enable this is what we call the Nanda index. The Nanda index you can think of as a mechanism for handshake across decentralized, distributed, untrusting agents that exist out there. The Nanda index follows what we call a three-tier architecture. The first tier is a lean index that consists of static, lightweight information such as agent name, agent endpoints, so on and so forth. And the second layer, which is decentralized, distributed, can be hosted anywhere, is what we call agent facts, which are detailed, certified, trusted, and audited metadata schemas that allow for agents to know about each other, find each other, interact with each other, and really talk with each other. We think of this index as what we call a quilt-like model. And what we mean by that is the Nanda index is sort of a handshake layer for agents to find each other, talk to each other across organizational silos. Organizational institutions can have their own internal registries of agents. They can control their agents, certify them, allow for access as they deem fit. But Nanda index is sort of the handshake layer that allows for agents to find each other. Once these untrusted, decentralized agents know each other and can find each other, they don't need the index anymore. They can talk to each other in a peer-to-peer manner. So think of this as a handshake layer, almost a phone book, but better than that because it enables for agents to trust each other. So as I mentioned, the key aspect is this two-layer architecture where we have a lean index with largely static metadata and a very, very detailed distributed dynamic metadata. And the benefit of such an architecture is that as we envision a large number of ephemeral, rapidly modifying agents to start coming onto this agentic web, this allows for scalability of the infrastructure like any centralized system just cannot. Of course, to think of enabling this architecture on the agentic web, there are several problems that need to be solved, and I'll touch upon some of these just now. The first is, of course, how can such an index be deployed out there to support a bunch of distributed agents that are ephemeral, rapidly changing, and coming and going. The Nanda research team has been thinking about efficient data management for the index and thinking about various critical technology pieces that will enable this, including peer-to-peer governance, distributed deployment, deployment on the edge, and smart storage schemas. Another critical aspect is the governance piece. With any decentralized distributed system, and especially a system at such scale, it is very important to think about how such systems may be governed, who governs it. Of course, we have a wide consortium of people who are working on these, and we're working with them together to tackle problems such as accountability, behavior verification, compliance, and oversight. The third critical piece that our friends at Akamai are working with us on is the idea of adaptive resolution. So we know how content is delivered today on the internet that we have today, but that is built for content that we have today, like videos, documents, web pages, so on and so forth. But agents are an entirely new data format. Are they even a data format? I don't know. But agents are an entirely new entity. They are implicit, they are dynamic, they are intelligent. And so we need to think about new ways of load balancing, of serving agents. What does it even mean to serve agents? Are we serving the model? Are we serving the content? Are we serving prompts? All of these problems are very important. And we have been thinking about how to resolve agents, how to serve agents, how to deliver agents across this landscape of web. And we, of course, have papers on all of these, and you'll hear about all of these in more detail today and tomorrow, so stay tuned. And finally, another very important piece is real-world use cases for enterprise, beyond enterprise, for personal use cases, and so on and so forth. So in collaboration with Sicha, who is also here from Cisco, we've been thinking about how enterprise can benefit from the Nanda index to allow for interoperability across a bunch of different use cases. So that covers the foundation piece. As you can see, we are thinking about this index piece from a bunch of different dimensions. What does it mean to have an index, to host an index, to govern an index, to deliver agents via an index? And this research continues on. But of course, as we said, there are 3 phases to achieving the agentic web. And we here at MIT have also been thinking about this point of agentic economy. What does it mean to value data? What does it mean to value models? What does it mean to incentivize transactions and interactions in a decentralized ecosystem? So from our lab here at MIT, we've pioneered this space of task-agnostic data valuation, task-agnostic intelligence valuation, which basically means if you have data sources or intelligence sources that are distributed and siloed, how do you value it without actually getting all the data already? Because if someone sends me all the data, I don't need to pay them for it because I already have the data. So how do you value data without having access to the data? We at our lab have been pioneering this field for a while. And we see this moving towards what Ramesh touched upon as knowledge pricing in the agentic web. How do you value the intelligence or the knowledge that an agent possesses? And how do you use that to kickstart this decentralized agentic economy? Finally, the third phase of agentic web research that we've touched upon is the idea of Agentic Society. how can agents collaborate with each other, learn from each other, earn from each other, grow with each other, all that fun stuff. Again, a bunch of papers to talk about, not enough time, so I'll zoom through it. But some of the interesting topics that we at our lab again have been thinking about is how can agents, as Ramesh touched upon, how can agents communicate concise representations of intelligence with each other so that they can collaboratively learn in a decentralized ecosystem. This work from our group called Code Dream explores that. And we have Ayush standing back there who's pioneered the space of large population models and agent-based modeling. How can we simulate, how can we sort of build a test bench for large distributed systems at millions to billion scales, all on a GPU. Ayush was a brilliant researcher at our lab, has pioneered this space, and we've been working on this. And we see this sort of, as Ramesh pointed out on his plot, we see this at the edge towards the agentic web. So those are the three phases of agentic web research that we've touched upon and I have zoomed through. Hopefully you got enough time to capture some pictures, but we'll be talking about all of these in more detail as we go through the next 2 days in one form or the other, so stay tuned. And one last thing before we move to the next session. As Ramesh mentioned, we have a bunch of working groups, and not all of you are part of the working groups already, but we want to give you a sense of what it means to join these working groups, be a part of our team, and think about building these systems. So today, between 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m., we have breakout groups starting from right this room, where we'll think about a bunch of these problems. If you go to this URL over here, or this QR code over here, we have a document that links to other documents for these specific topics over here. And each of these documents have a bunch of questions that we think are essential to answer to enable the agentic web. So as you are walking outside in the corridor or eating your lunch or talking to some other people, try to sign into one of these docs, look at the question, and think about these problems as you listen to a bunch of the sessions later today. With that, I'll end my rapid research overview. Again, you can go to that QR code over there. You can go to these links over here to talk about a bunch of our, to see a bunch of our papers. And thank you so much. With this, we'll move to a very quick panel session that we have with some of our